Curling is one of the oldest, most strategic, and most misunderstood events in the Olympic Games. To casual viewers, it can look slow or even puzzling at first glance. Stones slide across ice, people sweep frantically in front of them. The action feels quiet compared to the speed and danger of other winter sports, but that surface calm hides a sport built on centuries of history, deep tradition, precision, and mental warfare. Curling is not about brute strength or speed. It is about control, foresight, teamwork, and an intimate understanding of physics that unfolds inch by inch. The history of curling begins long before it ever entered the Olympics, long before indoor rinks or standardized stones. It begins outdoors on frozen ponds in winter landscapes where sport emerged naturally from community life. Curling's roots trace back to 16th century Scotland. Archaeological evidence shows stones used for curling dating as far back as the early 1500s. These early stones were often simple, rounded rocks gathered from riverbeds. Some even bore dates or markings carved into them, indicating ownership or pride. Curling did not begin as an organized sport, it began as recreation. During long Scottish winters, frozen lochs and ponds became gathering places. People slid stones across ice for fun, competition, and social interaction. The game required no expensive equipment and could be played by almost anyone. That accessibility helped it spread quickly. Early curling was informal but serious. Villages developed their own customs and rules. Games could last hours. Matches were social events as much as competitions. Wagers were common. Pride was always on the line. The sport quickly became embedded in Scottish culture. By the 17th century, curling clubs began to form. The oldest known curling club, the Royal Caledonian Curling Club, was established in 1738. Its formation marked a major shift. Curling began transitioning from folk pastime to organized sport. Rules were written, terminology standardized, equipment evolved. The stones themselves became more refined. Instead of random rocks, curlers began using shaped stones with handles. The material mattered. Certain types of granite, particularly from Ailsa Craig off the coast of Scotland, proved ideal due to durability and consistent friction. Those stones are still used today. Curling spread beyond Scotland came through migration. Scottish immigrants brought the game to Canada in the 18th and 19th centuries. The cold climate and abundance of frozen water made Canada fertile ground for curling's growth. What began as a cultural import soon became a national obsession. Canada embraced curling like no other country. By the 19th century, curling clubs were common across Canadian towns and cities. Bonspiels, large curling tournaments became major social events. Curling wasn't just sport, it was community glue. Meanwhile, curling spread to other parts of Europe and eventually to the United States. But it was Canada that refined the sport's competitive edge. As curling matured, strategy became central. Unlike many sports where outcomes are decided by physical dominance, curling rewards planning. Every stone thrown affects future possibilities. A single mistake can open the door for an opponent several moves later. Curling became known as chess on ice. Players had to think multiple shots ahead, anticipate counters, and adapt strategies mid game. Communication between teammates became essential. The skip, who directs play, emerged as a key leadership role. Sweepers were not just helpers, they were tacticians. Sweeping affects how far a stone travels and how much it curls. A fraction of pressure or timing can change everything. At elite levels, sweepers read ice conditions, stone speed, and angles in real time. The sport demanded a unique combination of mental acuity and physical endurance. Curling's Olympic journey was long and uneven. It appeared as a demonstration sport in the 1924 Winter Olympics in Chamonix, the first Winter Games ever held. At the time, curling was not fully embraced by the Olympic movement, which focused more on speed and spectacle. For decades, curling remained on the fringes. It reappeared sporadically as a demonstration event in 1932, 1988, and 1992. Each time, it generated interest, but not enough momentum to secure permanent inclusion. One reason was perception. Curling didn't look athletic to outsiders. There were no jumps, no crashes, no obvious danger. It was quiet, methodical. To those unfamiliar with the sport, it lacked drama. But those who understood it knew better. The push for Olympic inclusion gained traction in the late 20th century, driven largely by Canada and European curling nations. They argued that curling's long history, international participation, and deep competitive structure made it worthy of full Olympic status. They were right. In 1998, curling was officially added to the Winter Olympics in Nagano, Japan. Men's and women's tournaments were included, marking a historic moment for the sport. Curling's Olympic debut was a revelation. Television audiences were drawn in by the strategy, the tension, the slow build of each end. Commentators began explaining tactics. Viewers learned terms like house, button, draw, and takeout. What once looked confusing became compelling. Canada dominated early Olympic curling, as expected, but other nations quickly rose. Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, and Great Britain became formidable competitors. Curling proved it was truly international. The Olympics also accelerated curling's modernization. Indoor ice became standard. Ice technicians developed specialized pebbling techniques to control friction. Equipment improved. Shoes allowed one foot to slide while the other gripped. Brooms evolved from corn straw to synthetic materials designed to maximize efficiency. Rules were refined to increase fairness and pace. One major change was the introduction of the free guard zone rule, which prevented early removal of certain stones. This encouraged defense, strategy, and more complex play. Games became more dynamic and spectator friendly. Curling continued to evolve. In 2014, mixed doubles curling made its Olympic debut. This format featured teams of one man and one woman, faster paced games, and fewer stones. It showcased curling's adaptability and broadened its appeal. Mixed doubles introduced new tactics. With fewer stones and players, every shot mattered more. Physical endurance increased. Communication became even more critical. The format emphasized creativity and quick decision making. Curling's Olympic presence transformed its global profile. What was once a niche winter pastime became a televised strategy sport. National teams gained funding. Youth programs expanded. Curling clubs saw increased membership. The sport also benefited from storytelling. Olympic curlers were relatable. They didn't wear helmets. Their faces were visible. Their emotions were readable. Viewers could see frustration, relief, joy, and heartbreak in real time. Curling humanized competition. Unlike many sports where athletes seem distant or superhuman, curlers look like people you might know. That accessibility helped audiences connect deeply. But curling is not easy. Elite curlers train year round. They build strength for sweeping, flexibility for delivery, mental stamina for long matches, precision for repeated motion under pressure. Every stone is a test. Ice conditions change constantly. Temperature, humidity, and pebble wear affect movement. Teams must adjust on the fly. Reading ice is a skill honed over years. Curling also carries a unique culture. Sportsmanship is central. Tradition emphasizes respect for opponents and officials. Handshakes before and after matches are standard. Self officiating has long been part of the sport, though modern competition includes referees. This culture traces directly back to curling's communal origins. Even at the highest level, that spirit remains visible. Curling has also faced challenges. Balancing tradition with modernization is ongoing. Equipment regulations must prevent technological arms races. Broadcasters push for faster games, purists push back. Still, curling endures because its core is strong. It does not rely on spectacle, it relies on tension. The tension of knowing one stone can change everything. The tension of watching a shot curl slowly toward its target. The tension of silence broken only by sweeping and shouted instructions. Curling's drama is quiet but profound. From frozen Scottish ponds to Olympic arenas, curling's history is one of continuity and evolution. It adapted without losing its soul. It welcomed technology without abandoning tradition. The Olympic Games gave curling a global stage. Curling gave the Olympics something rare, a sport where intelligence, teamwork, and patience matter more than brute force. That is why curling belongs in the Olympics, not because it is flashy, not because it is fast, but because it represents something essential. The idea that mastery can be subtle, that competition can be thoughtful, and that sometimes the most powerful moments unfold slowly, one stone at a time. That is the history of Olympic curling, and that is why it continues to captivate those who take the time to understand it.